Last week, the Democrats claimed that President Donald Trump pressured the president of Ukraine to get dirt on Joe Biden. This week, the jackasses now claim that President Donald Trump is covering it up. Welcome to this week's podcast of Talk. We are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
So we're on week 2 of the impeachment investigation. As you can recall, last week, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi officially called for an investigation on Donald Trump and to be able to further ahead with the impeachment process. Now, let's get a little timeline before we go into details of a lot of things. As you know, President Donald Trump had a phone conversation with the president of Ukraine. And that phone conversation, which was dated in July 25th, says pretty much it's a conversation by the president congratulating the newly elected president of Ukraine. Pretty much tells him, good job, you're an underdog, no one expected you to win, congratulations on your victory, you're going to do a great job. And as the conversation is going, talking about Russia and how Russia, Ukraine's fight against Russia or resistance against Russian invasion or whatever it is that they're having a problem. They're talking about some weapons, some help, how other European leaders aren't helping them out, so on and so forth. As the conversation goes, President Donald Trump asks a question about Ukraine. Pretty much says, hey, I've heard that, a certain company, which was CrowdStrike had some servers in Ukraine, and had some information that led to the Russian probe or that led to the Mueller investigation, right? So that happened. We want to know, where's that server? If you have any clarity on that. Then he goes on and asks, I also know that you had a prosecutor, a really good prosecutor in Ukraine that was investigating certain acts, certain corrupt things. But all of a sudden, he was fired. All of a sudden, he no longer has a job. The investigation stopped and nothing came of it. So, I want to know what happened. Why did this guy get fired? What happened behind closed doors? I want you to talk to some attorneys of mine. I also want you to talk to Attorney General Barr about that. Who were you investigating? What information do you have in regards to that investigation? I also heard, President Trump says, that Joe Biden and his son have something to do with that investigation, And I need some clarity. I just hear rumors. I hear people talking about it. And I also hear Joe Biden himself bragging about that episode in Ukraine, and, that episode with Ukraine. If you have any clarity, it would help a lot. We just want to get to the bottom of it. I don't know what happened, but I just need some clarity to see whether or not the rumors are true. That's pretty much what the conversation says. The president said, yeah, we'll look into it. That was a good prosecutor. He was doing a good job. But, things happen in our country differently, and he was removed and so on and so forth, right? So they talk about that. Never in the transcript that we displayed last week, if you had tuned in last week, did it say that President Trump told the president of Ukraine, hey, I'm not going to give you any money unless you investigate Joe Biden. Until you investigate Joe Biden, then I will give you money. But until then, I'm not going to give you any money until I know what happened with Joe Biden. That conversation never happened. That conversation never instilled. And in that transcript, that conversation is not going through. Now, people are asking, why doesn't the president of Ukraine clear his name and say none of that happened by releasing the tapes or releasing his record of the tapes or the conversation? The president of Ukraine says, nah, I'm not going to do it. Nothing happened. He literally told the media in the press conference, I wasn't pressured. We had a conversation. You read the transcript. You read what we talked about. That's all we talked about. Nothing more, nothing less. No one pressured me. I am my own man. We're just trying to work relationships with the United States against Russia. That's it. Now, a lot of people can question that, whether or not. The Democrats keep saying that's the only way Donald Trump works. That's the way Donald Trump does things. That's the way Donald Trump pressures people to investigate, to do his dirty work. True or not true, we don't know. That could be up to interpretation. Our interpretation here in Talk is kind of finding out, clarify the rumors for me. Are the rumors true, yes or no? For the Democrats, it's pretty much telling them subtly, you give me this information, I will help you out. You're smart, you're rational, you can decide yourselves, but that's our interpretation. It's pretty much clear up the rumors for me. Now, before Eddie goes on to the more analytical part of it, more of the, all that jargon and all that details and stuff.
The hard stuff.
It's a headache.
The hard stuff.
The hot stuff. Because it's really a headache.
The meat and potatoes.
It's been it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of details. It's a lot of letter reading. It's a lot of document searching. It's comparing news articles with others and where they change. Actual sources, correct. With actual sources. So, before we go into that, let me just give you a timeline, and then we'll move on to the meats and potatoes, right? So, Joe Biden announces to become president in April of this year, right? He's like, I'm going to run for president of the United States. Obama. I got that from the SNL skit, man.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
That was good. You haven't seen it? If you haven't seen the SNL skit, it's funny when they talk about the presidential.
I gotta watch this. Yeah, okay, I'll watch it.
Every time he's like, Joe Biden, Obama. So I'm just taking it from the SNL skit.
That's funny. I just never seen it.
It was actually unbiased. Actually, that one was actually pretty good. It gave a good portrayal.
Was Alec Baldwin in it?
No, it wasn't in it because it wasn't Trump. It was like. It was good. You got to watch it. Okay. It wasn't as biased, but it was pretty much a really good,
All right. But go on.
Observation of the debates. Anyways, that happens. In July 25th of this year, President Trump calls the newly elected president, what's his last name again?
Zelensky.
Zelensky, I want to congratulate you on your victory. You're the greatest. I'm the greatest. We're both the greatest. We're going to rock this world. We're going to kick ass as leaders. Blah, 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 right? Calls him up. That's what happens. Now, remember, as we told you last week, the transcript is being written by notes by intelligence people, right? They write down the notes of what they're listening to. We disclosed already last week, so tune in last week's episode, of what some errors or some mistakes that can happen during that transcript, right? I'm not going into detail. So they write that down. Anywhere between August 1st and August 12th, right? The chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, is the same man who said that there is absolutely 100% evidence that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. He is the man who's been on media and all over the news who said at one point that what's on the Mueller report, the Mueller investigation, is 100% proof that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. It turned out to be false. There was no evidence. There was no collusion. The Mueller report neither said there was collusion nor did it exonerate the president, right? But this is Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, the one who oversees intelligence information, right? He's the one who made the claim a couple of months ago that 100% proof that Donald Trump is guilty of collusion and obstruction of justice. But that became false. That same man is contacted by the whistleblower. The whistleblower contacts Adam Schiff and tells him what he has. And Adam Schiff helps the whistleblower draft his memo and his letter to Congress. Right? So the whistleblower on August 12th.
Can I stop you? There's no... We can't say... I mean, let's retract that a little bit. We can't say that Adam Schiff helped him draft his letter.
True, okay.
We can't say that, so...
I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's just my theory, my conspiracy theory.
Because that's what
Trump
tweeted.
That's what Trump tweeted, actually. For me, it's like because the news articles are saying that Adam Schiff knew before he filed it.
So yeah, that creates the assumption.
That he helped or guided or kind of knew what happened. It could also mean that he was just forewarned of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So it could go both ways, and I do apologize for inputting my own interpretation of conspiracy, right? That's just me. I do apologize. Eddie's right. We have no evidence whether Adam Schiff actually helped with the letter or not. He was just warned or he was told about it before he filed it, before the whistleblower filed it. He filed it on August 12th. So far, that's what we know. We still want to get an exact date. Somewhere between August 12th and September 24th, which was last week, that was reported. They had it for about a month. Okay, we don't know who had it, who read it, what went on, how long the procedure is to inform Congress. Was it like, the whistleblower waited too long, like no one's doing anything, so I'm going to come to Congress? We don't know yet. We're still investigating that portion of why it took so long between the date it was reported to the ICG, right?
IGIC.
IGIC.
Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. When you're dealing with national security matter, folks, I'm going to be abbreviating a lot of things, so get a pen and paper. Okay, I don't have time to be telling you the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. I'm just going to say the CIC,
So the IC,
yeah.
Inspector General.
Just say Inspector General.
Of the intelligence community,
Yeah.
pretty much has his report and he has to evaluate it, right? Okay, so then it goes to Pelosi's hands, or we don't know what happened, but Pelosi finds out, and she comes out publicly saying, because of this whistleblower and because of this report, we will formally investigate the Trump administration and we will move forward with impeachment proceedings, right? So that shocked everybody, right? They couldn't get Trump on collusion. They couldn't get Trump on, Stormy Daniels. They couldn't get Trump on, grab him by the pussy. They couldn't get Donald Trump on obstruction of justice. They couldn't get Donald Trump on Charlottesville. They couldn't get Donald Trump on taxes. They couldn't get Donald Trump on, telling congresswomen to leave this country or go back to where they come from. They couldn't get Donald Trump on
being Donald Trump.
They couldn't get him on anything so far, right? Remember, there's all these allegations that Donald Trump is the worst president ever, or if he is or he's not, but here's all the evidence that, we should impeach Donald Trump, but none of them stuck.
Right.
Now the Democrats are now putting all their efforts over this phone conversation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this phone conversation has a lot of information that we need to dig into. A lot of things were mentioned and said during that conversation that requires a lot of research, right? But we'll go into that later. Phone call happens. We're now in week 2, right? Like we said earlier, last week, Donald Trump pressured the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden. The Ukrainian president denies it. This week, with coming out with what happened, how the intelligence community reports, how whistleblowers report to their superiors, and they investigate, and whether or not, it's provable, whether or not it goes to Congress and all that so forth. Now that process and procedure is being questioned and asked, right? So this week, the Democrats, or the jackasses, because that's their party logo or their party animal, right? Jackasses, are now investigating, trying to figure out, or trying to claim, actually, that Donald Trump is covering it up. This whole time he's covering it up, didn't want it to leak. He's threatening the whistleblower. They're threatening to fire them. They're threatening to do whatever. All these claims, they're saying that they're trying to keep it under rags, and that Donald Trump is just trying to hide it because this is the bullet. This is the
silver bullet.
Not the silver bullet, or the what's the other term? The smoking gun.
The final nail in the
the
coffin,
smoking gun.
Smoking gun.
The smoking gun of his impeachment. That's up to our interpretation based on the facts, right? As the news comes out, we gotta look at what really did happen. So, we're at that. Let's backtrack a little bit based on the conversation, because he said, hey, what happened to that prosecutor? Literally, a prosecutor was removed from office back in 2016, 2016, when Joe Biden was still vice president. And Joe Biden himself has been bragging about it. He himself has been walking around all these foreign committees, all these foreign forums, and all these foreign policy forums, saying that, yeah, I told the president of Ukraine to fire the attorney general or the prosecutor, and if they don't fire that man, I will withhold the $1 billion I had for them. Obama, right? And they were like, no, you can't do that. This is Joe Biden himself telling this story, right? It's nobody, no staff member, no news reporter, no whistleblower. Joe Biden himself is like, yeah, I told the Ukraine president, fire that prosecutor or you're not getting your $1 billion. Right. And son of a bitch, he did it. Literal words, verbatim, okay? So that's the background, right? And Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has been on the board of
Burisma
Holding, which is the largest natural gas company in Ukraine, from 2014 to just recently this year in 19, where he resigned because he didn't want to steal attention from his dad's candidacy for president on what he's doing over there in Ukraine as a board member to that company, right? So he resigns. So during that time period, we don't know, but we did know as last week. Tune in last week if you didn't tune in last week. We did talk about that Burisma Holdings was under some investigation by the Ukrainian prosecutors, right, or by the Ukrainian government. We don't know what came of it because it ended all of a sudden. So that's a little background history. I know it's a little boring and long, but now let's get to the nits and grits of what the analysis is and what's going on. So Eddie, tell us.
Oh man! All
what
right.
the whistleblower is doing
so
and the rules.
The way I want to break this down and for all you to understand, because this, wow. Okay, so Jaime already put it out the conclusion that based on what's going on, you really cannot seek articles of impeachment or try to impeach the president on what was said on this phone call. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, you have to question the timeline for the timeline of the situation, the release of the complaint, right, and basically what's going on this week, which now we're being accused of cover up based on the responses of the administration. So you have to take it in those three steps, in those three aspects. That's the way you want to organize this, because it will provide you with the overall picture of what we're at till now. Of course, things will happen later on this week, and we'll get to that in a second. And now, hopefully, by the time we're done, if you're watching, you're done with this video, you can be like, okay, I can see where we're going, and I can see where we're at now, and I can see what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. So, Jaime provided the background, right? The background.
Now, a lot of the mass media are saying that that's not really what happened. The conversation might have been redacted, or the conversation might have been changed, because now they have a theory, as well as the Democrats, that the president is covering it up. Therefore, they might have omitted some stuff from that transcript.
Here we go. Okay, so no,
right?
so
let's go back to the rules.
There was according to Atkinson, there you go, Michael Atkinson, who is the Inspector General, right, of the IC and intelligence community. There's a document that allows whistleblowers to basically provide information regarding some sort of national security situation. And he did. Now, the problem here is that he said that this was urgent. I'm gonna call it the urgent clause, just for the sake of this, for the sake of this conversation. So, according to the urgent clause or the urgent concern process, as that's is actually the actual term, you needed to have first-hand knowledge of the situation. It couldn't be hearsay. It couldn't be second-hand accounts. It couldn't be open sources. You have to be either on the phone call, or be directly in the room, or overhear it, or something of that nature. Firsthand, right? Firsthand.
So you had to be there, or witness it yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this was the rule up to the rule as it was known up to, I'm gonna say yesterday. Yesterday. No, not yesterday. Well, what's today? It was Tuesday, Wednesday. What's today's date?
The second.
Up to the 30th of September. This is the way this was known up to
Monday.
As of Monday, yeah, Monday of this week, yeah. So as of Monday, that's the way this rule was interpreted. This is the way this rule was known. But when you get to the whistleblower's letter, you get revealing, right? You get revealing information. He goes, look, Representative Schiff, ICIG General, so forth. I'm here. I'm reporting an urgent concern in accordance with, like I said, the U.S. Title Code. In accordance to my official duties, I have received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the President of the United States is using his power of office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 election. Mm-hmm. This interference includes, amongst things, pressuring, which is why the media is getting pressure from, a foreign country to investigate one of the President's main domestic political rivals. The president's personal lawyer, Mr. Rudy Giuliani, is a central figure in this effort. Attorney General Barr also appears to be involved as well. As we go back to the transcript, President Trump says you're going to be working with both of these people in a cooperative investigation to find out what happened, right? I'm gonna scroll a little bit further because I want to get to where it gets a little interesting for me. Okay, over the. Okay.
I was not
okay.
witness.
I was not. Okay, so the second bullet point in the first page. I was not a direct witness to the most of the events described. However, I found I found my colleagues' accounts of these events to be credible because in almost all cases, multiple officials recounted the fact patterns that were consistent with one another. In addition, a variety of information is consistent with these private accounts that has been reported publicly. I'm deeply concerned that these actions described below constitute a serious or flagrant problem, abuse or violation of executive order, and does not include differences of opinions concerning public policy matters. And then I'm therefore fulfilling my duty to report this information through proper legal channels to the relevant authority. So he's basically that's the whistleblowers, okay? That's the whistleblower to Schiff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jaime pointed out, this whistleblower went to Schiff to learn how he should proceed in writing this letter, or how should I do it, how do I protect myself, and so forth. And Schiff's aide actually says maybe you should conduct this. According to sources, media sources, this is a routine thing. If there's an upcoming whistleblower, somebody wants to report something to Congress, they seek help. Okay, but what's the caveat, or what's the interesting part? If Adam Schiff had this letter, or Adam Schiff knew there was going to be a whistleblower of an urgent phone call with the President of the United States, it took him 1 month. 1 month to verify, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
1 month? Okay, so it took him 1 month. Okay? Now, amidst all of this, there was an article by the magazine called The Federalist. It was also reported in the Washington Times about a rule change. And this leads to Trump's tweet that happened a couple days ago, where he said, "Who changed the rules? This is a scam, whatever. Who changed the rules? This is ridiculous. Fake hoax, whatever." Now, the Federalist and of course the Washington Times reported that that there was a rule that said that you needed to have first-hand accounts, and that basically it changed to the language changed to, did you obtain the information yourself personally, or did you get it from somebody else? Let me get you the actual words. Okay, so the actual form now says, "I know about this information I'm disclosing here and have a direct and personal knowledge," which is the same thing of saying first-hand knowledge, or "I heard about it from others," which is second-hand knowledge. Okay, so it sounds the same, right? If you look at it, oh yeah, it's first-hand knowledge, or I got it from someone else. Mm-hmm. Not the issue. Changing of the words, that's fine. If you revise the form, that's fine. That's what the Federalists are trying to say. They revised the form. They don't know when it was revised, and so forth. That is, again, not the issue. What's the issue is not knowing the timeline. Mm-hmm. Why wasn't it revealed until now? Okay?
That's about almost 2 months.
Over 2 months. And how about to get to in another letter, who basically told the whistleblower who to file, how to file it, when to file it, and why was it public until now? Mm-hmm. So the timeline is all skittish and kind of weird. Mm-hmm. And this is why it provides concern. So Republicans today, three leaders of the Republican Party in Congress. You had Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, who's very popular these days, and Damon Nunez of the House and Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. They write to the ICIG the following. According to IC Atkinson, by the way. According to your August 26, 2019 letter to Acting Director National Intelligence Joseph McGuire, you determined that the whistleblower's complaint filed with your office, on August 12, using the urgent concern process established by the IC Whistleblower Protection Act, appealed credible. Every allegation contained in this complaint, which was publicly released in a redacted form on September 25th, is based on press reporting, speculation, or complaint secondhand knowledge of the alleged misconduct. You specifically addressed this issue when explaining your credibility determination on an August 26th letter. The complaint letter acknowledges the complaint was not direct witness to the president's telephone call with the Ukrainian president on July 25th. Other information obtained during the ICIG's preliminary review, however, supports the complaint's allegation that, among other things, during the call, the president sought to pressure the Ukrainian leader to take actions to help the president's 2020 re-election bid. So he's affirming that there was secondhand knowledge, and he's also affirming what the letter was about, okay? At no point in your letter or any of the following information provided to the House Intelligence Committee related to this issue did you indicate your office found any of the whistleblower's allegations to be based on first-hand knowledge during the preliminary review you undertook to determine whether the complaint appeared to be credible and met the statutory definition of urgent concerns. This determined lack of first-hand knowledge is why we're sending this letter. Until very recently, urgent concern disclosures were submitted to the ICIG using a form entitled Intelligence Community Whistleblower and Source Protection Program Urgent Concerns Disclosure Form. You see why I abbreviate a lot of things when it deals with national security issues? Or the ICWSP Form 401. Right?
We told it to be a little technical.
Published May 24, 2018. Right, which goes back to the article from the Federalist and also the Washington Times, who said that they don't know when they changed these rules between either 2018 and until now. Form 401 clearly states that the whistleblower must have in possession reliable first-hand information to be determined credible by the ICIG, specifically formal, and then the form states, right? In order to form an urgent concern credible, the ICIG must be in possession of reliable first-hand information. The ICIG cannot transmit information via the ICWPA based on employee second-hand knowledge or wrongdoing. This includes information received from other persons and so forth. So, what happens here? So let me get away from this all the legal stuff. What happens here? Whistleblowers goes to Adam Schiff, says, "Hey man, I need a way to write this. How do I do it?" Gets information from the aide. Adam Schiff knows about it, right? Whistleblower writes the letter, clearly admits that he got this from second-hand knowledge.
Yeah. It's hearsay.
Already hearsay. He got it from sources. Sources somehow collaborate. I feel this is urgent, and that's what I'm telling people. Okay, you could feel it's urgent, but you do not qualify for the urgent process.
Based on the rules, right?
Based on the rules. Now, the ICIG... The Intelligence Community Inspector General admits that so far that there is a whistleblower, and they admitted that there was a phone call and so forth, which he determined that it was potential, right, pressuring by the President of the United States. However, not in this case. You cannot call it an urgent concern because, again, it was secondhand knowledge. It was passed down knowledge. You couldn't do it. Now, what people in the media are not arguing, and this was fact-checked by the Washington Post, and it was fact-checked by CNN, and it was fact-checked by, I believe, by the New York, PolitiFact, right? PolitiFact. They're saying that is not correct, that the rule was never changed. What was changed was the wording, and this is what I said. Yeah, if you look at it, the wording has changed, right? So when President Trump tweeted, "Oh, that's who changed the rules?" I kind of disagree with the president right there. I kind of disagree with the president. I will make the argument that the wording changed, but the rule still stays the same. You have to have first-account knowledge of what happened in that particular situation, right? It's not that the rule was changed; it's that the wording of the paperwork changed. That's what these representatives, I think, are going to get to. When was it changed, and why was it changed, and so forth. And if you look at the bottom, right, they ask several questions to the Inspector General, right? So far we have, was any version of the form provided to the whistleblower in this case, or his or her representatives? If so, which versions and what dates? Okay? Did the whistleblower in this case or his or her representatives submit any versions of this form to your office? If so, which versions and what dates? Please provide completed forms. Did your office complete any version of this form on behalf of the whistleblower in this case? And ask for the dates and submit paperwork. And then they ask you to provide all internal ICIG's written policies, guidance, and ICIG's personal concerning the criteria of making the credibility of the determination. Determination in this case, alleged urgent concern complaints, whether the guidance of in an informal memorandum or less formal, which from such email since January 1st, 2019. Now they're asking for any other cases, right? From January 1st till now. They want to see if there's been a change in pattern. They want to see all that, right? During your tenure as ICIG, how many other disclosures to the ICIG were solely based on secondhand knowledge, and where were the disclosures reversed? Were any of the disclosures deemed credible by your office? Right? And it tells you what their roles as representatives of the U.S. Congress and so forth. So this is where you guys got to understand what's going on. President Trump, who's mad about right now, if you don't believe me, just look at his Twitter feed, right? He's calling everybody out. You see Jaime calling them jackasses now. They're no longer Democrats.
But, hey, that's their mascot. That's the symbol of the party, jackasses.
Right.
I'm not lying.
No, he's not lying, but I'm just saying, as we're getting frustrated. I'm frustrated just by reading all this. What we're trying to say is the following. If you look at it, right, if you look at the font, let's leave it with this. The phone call provided no clear evidence of quid pro quo, right? The ability to get to be deemed an urgent concern based on the rules of the intelligence community and the Inspector General were not met by this whistleblower. It was secondhand knowledge. Mm-hmm. Did the documentation paper wording of the paper change? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it happens all the time. You're trying to make things sound better. Trying to make them clarity and all that. Okay, but it stayed the same. What needs to be argued, I believe, in my case, is that did the whistleblower meet the criteria? It doesn't matter which form he filled out. He could have filled out the 2019 version, the 2014 version. If the wording is still the same, that's not the argument that should be made. And I think the president needs to stay off Twitter on this one because, like political fight, sure, yeah, well, he kind of lied, There's no rule change, guys. It's just wording change. Mm-hmm. But the main argument is still on hold. Does he? And I say he does not. Now, this week is now Pompeo, right? Now Pompeo and the Democrats are trying to subpoena everybody in the State Department. Like everybody in the State Department. Everybody's being subpoenaed in the State Department.
You get a subpoena? You get a subpoena?
And including him. They're trying to say, well, look.
Pompeo gets a subpoena.
Like, they're trying to get everybody to come in and testify. Pompeo's like, not everybody in the State Department is going to testify at this time. I'll cooperate. Not my staff, not their staff, and so forth. Why? If you hear this from the media, they're saying that's what they're saying. Cover up. What is Pompeo hiding? Why does he want to say what happened? He said he was in the room. Who else was in the room? Help us out here. Pompeo's like, I don't have time for that. I'll cooperate. Leave my staff alone. But why leave the staff out? You say, right? They need to get defense lawyers. They need to prepare themselves for the questioning that the subcommittees and so forth are gonna ask. If they don't have proper representation, they're gonna get crucified. Mm-hmm. The lawyer's gotta be like, don't answer that. Mm-hmm. Did you get notes on that? Mm-hmm. My witness invokes his Fifth Amendment privilege. Stuff like that.
Everyone who goes to before Congress has an attorney with them. Yeah. Because when you testify at Congress, anything you say before the committee can be used against you, right? Yeah. Can be used against you by the same Congress people, or the federal government may even press charges on you because you're testifying on what you do, what you're involved in, what's your knowledge, and whatever it is that you're testifying on. So Pompeo is saying, before all these State Department officials and workers go before Congress, they need to get an attorney. They need to get legal advice on what they can and cannot say publicly, both out of respect to rules of what is classified and what is unclassified, rules on what they can say publicly and what they can say in closed room. Yeah. Remember, the federal government has a bunch of rules and regulations in regards of information inside every intelligence community or bureaucracy.
And in this case,
so Pompeo is doing his job. He's like, dude, I got to take care of my staff because I don't want
It's not even that.
For them to be in jail
You're
or something.
You're in a conversation with a foreign leader. There may be national security implications in the first place, and you may not want to reveal that. For all I know, the president of the United States and Zelensky are going to flank the Russians through the right, and then invade Russia for all I know. But you cannot divulge all that. That was a joke, by the way. Mm-hmm. But you don't know. It could be crazy conversations like that, and you do not want to divulge that. So Pompeo saying, we're not going to go this quickly. My staff needs to get prepared. They need to get their legal advice, and then they can cooperate with you. It's not that the White House is directing them to say, oh, you can't go, and you can't go, and you can't go. If the White House did direct them that way, and if they did, please comment below to say, well, Eddie says it right here that they withheld. If they did withheld, it's for that reason. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you that right now. You're not going to go into court by yourself and trying to take and going with the law book. Well, it says it right here, and whatever case versus whatever. This is not going to work. You need to have proper representation. That's why is this taking a little longer, and that's what Pompeo says. Give us time. Give us time. It's not a cover up. It's that they're trying to get prepared, and it's not their. And you understand, like I said, this involves national security matters. You need to know what you can say and not what you can say. And it's not because it will help or will not help Trump. It's because of national security implications. We're dealing with states matters. Mm-hmm. So that's what you guys got to understand, that it's not about cover up. It's about getting prepared. Pompeo's already going to say, I'm going to cooperate. If Pompeo's going to cooperate, what do you think people are going to say? I mean, don't you think people in his staff are going to cooperate? Pompeo said, dude, just get lawyered up. Let's get the proper responses out there in a safe and secure manner. So if there's national security matters involved, maybe we don't divulge them.
Hello. You don't want to go to jail because you divulged some national security measures, and then later on, the state, the Justice Department go after you because you gave out confidential, secret, top secret clearance, whatever, over a congressional hearing, right? Mm-hmm. And you also want to have legal advice to make sure that you're not in contempt against Congress.
Yeah.
We already seen the way the Democrats are running the committees and investigating and asking questions, that even when an official says, I can't answer that question because of whatever reasons or because of confidentiality or whatever, they even hold them as, oh, that's being contempt. We're not trying to tell. We're trying to hide something. So they need the legal representation.
Yeah.
So hopefully this matter gets resolved quickly enough for the staff to both have a legal representation and be before Congress in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. Right? So this whole cover up or covering it up, like I said, it's up to interpretation. But what we're looking at and what we see and what you guys have seen based on congressional hearings, even Zuckerberg, when he went before Congress, he had attorneys with him. Okay? He had lawyers with him telling him, no, yes. Look, Mueller had lawyers with him.
And he's a lawyer.
And he's a lawyer. He's an investigator.
He's
an investigator. He's an investigator, and he had lawyers with him telling him, no, yes.
Lawyers have lawyers.
Lawyers have lawyers, okay? So it's like, it's ridiculous to have someone just show up before a committee without any legal representation. Even, what's that lady who accused Kavanaugh?
Oh, man.
Ford.
Yeah.
Miss Ford, she had lawyers with her when she went before Congress to testify of, what happened. So this is ridiculous, and this is a political play by the jackasses to be mean to the State Department staff for not responding to their subpoenas or not willing to go before Congress in a timely manner. Remember, and sometimes, and I forgot to mention this as I was giving timeline. Remember, I think I did say it. The Iowa caucuses are like in 3 months.
Yeah, you did.
Iowa caucuses are in 3 months. That means that officially in 2020, it's going to get down on presidential elections. We're going to narrow down who is going to be the nominee for the Democratic Party and who's going to challenge President Trump in the 2020 general election. So it's in 3 months. Mm-hmm. So they want to quickly speed this up because they want to make sure they have a result. Hopefully
to use against Trump.
Yes, hopefully before the caucuses or midway through the caucuses or before the general election, right? So, like I said, this has never been happened before, to have an impeachment proceeding during an election cycle, right? So, before we conclude this we already know the procedures of the whistleblower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the procedure for impeachment? And that's probably what you guys are asking. What happens in the impeachment process? Do the charges stick? Do they not stick? Just a quick schoolhouse rock kind of simple rules of impeachment. First things that happen is the Speaker of the House says, we're going to investigate impeachment. Mm-hmm. We're going to investigate the charges and put charges against the president. Once the charges are set out, which are called articles of impeachment, articles of impeachment pretty much say these are the charges against the president, right? It could be 5, it could be 20, it could be 100, right? Then it goes before the House. So 6 committees, let me go back. 6 committees that oversee the president have to approve these charges. They all have to agree that whatever charges they put on the president, they're all in agreement with. Yes, we will charge him for this, that, this, and that. Once those articles or charges are written and listed, it goes before the House. Mm-hmm. Okay, the entire House of Representatives votes on the impeachment. They vote on the charges. They can say, you know what, we agree on charges 1 through 5, but we disagree on 6 through 10. So they vote on it. Whatever charges receive the majority of votes, those charges are now the official charges against the president. Okay, so you can have 1,000, you can have 100 charges against the president, but only 5 can make it, or only 10 will stick, or maybe 20 or 50. We don't know, right? But only a certain amount of charges fit. It's like when someone gets indicted, right, for 50 charges, but by the time trial comes, they're gonna bring it down from 50 to like 3 or 4 or 20, right? Depending on what evidence they have to prove that these charges are that they have evidence of these charges. Once that happens, a simple majority. So we know that the House is ruled by the Democrats. The Democratic Party is in control of the House of Representatives. So right now, majority of Democrats are willing to go against President Trump and file impeachment. So we'll see what the vote tally is. But it's just a simple majority. It needs to have 50 plus 1 votes of the House to be able to impeach the president. Once the impeachment is finished and finalized, it goes to the Senate. The Senate then sets up trial. The Senate is the jury. The Senate hears the arguments between the president's defense attorneys and the House of Representatives attorney. The House of Representatives attorney will make an argument for impeachment and will give it before the Senate. The judge presiding over that is going to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which in this case is...
Who is it now? Who is it? Kennedy?
Alito?
No, that's an associate justice. Oh, man.
John Alito is the Chief Justice.
No, he's not the Chief Justice.
We'll look for that.
Supreme Court Justice. Chief Justice, right? No, it's not.
Chief Justice.
Is it Alito? No, Roberts.
Robert what? John Roberts. My bad. It's not Alito. Sorry. John Roberts is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He will preside over it.
What did I say, Kennedy?
You said Kennedy. He died already. Or he's retired. So John Roberts will proceed. Uh-huh. Now, the Senate needs to vote. In order for the president to be impeached and removed from office, the Senate needs to vote 67 in favor of impeachment.
Well, that ain't gonna happen.
67 votes of the Senate need to say, yes, let's impeach the president. That's 2/3 of the Senate majority of the Senate. Now, in history, on the 2 impeachments that ever happened in the United States, the first one being, who was it?
Oh man, Johnson.
Yes,
Johnson.
Andrew Johnson, and the second being Bill Clinton. Both presidents were impeached by the House, but they were acquitted by the Senate. That means that they were not removed from office.
Yes.
Right? So, we know that the majority of the Senate is Republican. Okay? That's the same party as the president. Right? Now, we're not saying that the Republicans are just going to blindly say, oh, we're not going to impeach him. But you need 67 votes. All right? Out of 100 Okay, it's 100 senators, 67 votes need to say, yes, we will impeach the president. And based in history, based on the past, that is not likely going to happen. You need to convince 67 senators to say that the president is guilty of whatever charges the House put against them. So, even if it does go all the way to the Senate, right? We're not 100% sure, or that doesn't guarantee that the president is going to be impeached. That doesn't mean that the president is going to stay in office either. We don't know what the results are going to be. But based on precedent, that means that the president could be acquitted by the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's how impeachment works. Now, that's a long process. They want to speed it up. They want to get through it really quick before the general election. Now, that's where we come into our interpretation, our analysis of what's really going on. Eddie, what's really going on?
As far as what, impeachment?
Impeachment proceeding of what's going to happen with all this scandal.
So, like I said, so now you have the whole Pelosi says they're going after impeachment. Good luck with that. First of all, it could get through the House. It's going to get through the House. If they want to go, if you put impeachment on the floor right now on the table, it will get through the House like that. Mm-hmm. Good luck in the Senate. You got McConnell going in there. No. It won't get to the Senate, though. It's a majority Republican. If you look why Bill Clinton was acquitted in 98, 99, a majority Democratic Senate was just voted in office. Mm-hmm. So they acquitted him. So yes, party politics does play into it. Okay? But in this case, guys, you can't prove impeachment on the president based on the case the Democrats want to build. Too much room for ambiguity, too much room for interpretation, and most of all, in the justice system, too much reasonable doubt.
It's all circumstantial.
It's all circumstantial
right
evidence.
Now.
So you can make all these legal theories as you want to go. Oh yeah, well you know this versus this doesn't hold up here. Mm-hmm. The president did not. If you look at the context of the president and this phone call and however you want to interpret it. And first of all, keyword interpretation, right? There's no clear evidence of saying that the president was going to sell weapons to Ukraine if they provided dirt on Biden. That's the main argument, right? Yep, that does not hold. That does not hold. Well, should he done it? Well, that's, whatever, but that's not impeachable. You can't impeach the guy for saying that he wants to dig up dirt from 2016 when he's saying, I want you to dig up that dirt because it was a national security matter. Well, that's within his power. But
is it a real quid pro quo? We have to figure out, investigate what really is happening in Ukraine. What really is the question that's going on? So what really happened, right? So that's going to be up to interpretation and based on the evidence. Remember, in the United States, we still hold the idea that you're innocent until proven guilty. Right? Just because you're accused of something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Yeah. You have to be proven that you committed a crime or did something wrong. Right? So, that's what we have so far in week 2 on impeachment. That's what we can inform you now. As more things come out this week and later on next week, we will cover it here on MM Talk. So, just let us know below. Comment on what you think on the impeachment process. Do you think that this is the right form to impeach the president? That they should use this matter to impeach the president, or is it just another political ploy, another political scandal, another political drama, just like the Mueller and the investigation with Russia? 2 years of yes, there's collusion, to turn out to be no evidence of it. Nothing happened. There was no way that there was collusion, right? So let us know your comments below, your thoughts. Share with us, please let us know. Now, really quick, before we go on, we just want to make a minor mention on what's going on in New York City. In New York State. The state of New York has officially made it illegal for anyone to say or call someone an illegal alien. Fines can go up to $250,000 if you use the term illegal alien to hurt, harass, or threat, or use it as a hate crime to any person who's illegal alien. Now, it doesn't say you have to prove that the person was illegal alien. You can call someone by mistake an illegal alien, and they could have been U.S. citizens. But whatever, it's still illegal in the state of New York. Now, a lot of liberals and pro-immigrant groups are going to be like, yes, New York is right. New York is doing great. New York is...
Jorge Ramos is jumping because they're undocumented.
Yeah, because they're protecting undocumented immigrants to stop the hate crime and xenophobia. But Americans, let's think about it. Let's think about it.
No, let's just say this. Okay. It's using the U.S. title code. It says it right there. Illegal aliens, for crying out loud.
They're trying to censor forms of speech. This is the beginning of some government censorship of free speech. Okay? To call someone an illegal alien. Let's say you say, oh, he's an illegal alien just because, he's undocumented. All of a sudden, that can lead you. If someone feels that you did it in such a harmful way, you can get fined for up to $250,000 just for uttering those two words.
Fine, I'll just call him Fredo.
So what does this mean, America? This is now creeping in. Some people see it as justice, social justice, warriors see it as victory to stop the hate, to stop the xenophobia, to stop, the hate brought by the Trump administration and against illegal aliens or undocumented people. This is the right way to do things, but actually it's not. That's some form of censorship by the government, trying to censor some language. It's the way to limit free speech. Just because someone's offended by being called illegal alien, I'm sorry you're offended by it. Okay, well we deal with it in society differently. Right? We stand up and tell that person to shut up, or we protect ourselves, or we ignore that person, or that person, as we've noticed in social media, when people have been broadcast or went viral that they were racist or they made offensive, xenophobic commentaries, we socially have pressured them to lose their jobs, to hide, and to publicly apologize for what they said. Right? So, New York. Your intentions are good, but the result is going to be bad. If this happens now, what else are they going to try to censor? What else? What other language are they going to try to say you can't use, or you will be fined if you say certain things, or use certain language, or use certain sentences? What else is the government going to try to censor in our free speech? So even though this might look good on the surface level, as like, yes, it's protecting illegal immigrants and it's helping them to feel safe. But in reality, it's censoring language that can lead to... If that's the beginning, what else can be censored? What other language can be censored? What other forms of speech can be censored? So it becomes a domino effect on free speech. So put that in mind this week. Keep that in mind as you go on to what's going on in the news and what's going on socially. Keep that in mind. If someone gets offended, where was this law back when Jim Crow was around? Where was these laws, when, the Asian Americans community came during the 60s and 70s because of the warfares in Asia? Where were these laws, when the height of racism in the United States? Where were these laws? They were nowhere to be found. But now, because Donald Trump is president and they don't like his rhetoric, they want to make these rules to protect undocumented immigrants. Like I said, the intentions are there, probably trying to be good and protective, but the results can be more damaging to our free speech. So we'll close it up with that from New York, the state of New York. Anything else you want to add, Eddie?
Thoughts and prayers to Bernie Sanders. We may not like his politics, but the man did go under heart surgery today. He is recovering well. I hate to say it, but it just sucks when a man goes down. Like I said, I may not like his politics, but he's an American regardless. And thoughts and prayers to the Sanders family and hope for a speedy recovery. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Bernie Sanders. And that concludes our week's podcast of MM Talk. Thank you for joining us. Remember, share our channel. Tell your friends and family. Comment below. Let us know where we made a mistake or what we can improve on. And also give us feedback on what your thoughts are during this impeachment process. Once again, we are your host, Jaime Moreno.
And Eddie Marmolejo.
And remember, we're tired of it too.